Welcome to this week's coffee tasting. Today, it is a washed Red Catuai and Caturra blend from 5 producers in Nicaragua. It is therefore a regional coffee and one that should broadly display the flavor profiles that this region can give us. My expectation with coffees from Nicaragua are that they possess a really delightful apple-like acidity, sometimes yellow, sometimes red, mostly green apple. So when I've roasted this coffee, it's that I have in mind. I want to make sure that the acidity and those beautiful apple qualities are present, should they be present in the green, which they were, and then be able to balance out the other components of the coffee. So my approach to roasting this week was I wanted a somewhere between 10 and 10.5 minute roast profile. I had 4 batches to prepare, 2 of which were going out to our subscribers, and the other 2 that I have as floating batches for our regular farmers markets and also the e-commerce business as well. So the first batch that I produced, based on the temperature of the raw coffee over this past week, because it's been incredibly cold within the UK, was to approach this with somewhere close to 90% of gas. Now, I needed a little bit of headroom of gas just for any subsequent roast that I was going to do of it. And in the subsequent roast, I did opt to use 100% gas in the early phases. So for those of you who are roasters or aspire to be roasters, my notion when it comes to roasting on the ProBat is that because it has a double skin wall, I can get right into roasting with full gas very early on. There's some discussion about soaking and allowing the coffee to equilibrate with its environment, and I believe there is some truth in that. But when we go into a ProBat and this double skinned wall, tipping and scorching are less common, especially when you have charge temperatures such as I run. So my charge temperatures on the ProBat are around 200 degrees Celsius on the bean probe. The return air is a little higher. But anyway, tipping and scorching, the thing that soaking is good at avoiding, doesn't necessarily happen with me. So I opt to get straight into the gas early on. So first roast, 90% gas through to about 160 degrees Celsius. From then I started to taper energy away in 10% increments, right the way through to first crack, which happened at about 8.5 minutes. And then I did a 1.5 minute development time, which for my style of roasting, for this roaster, for the texture that I like to create, for the balance that I like to create in the cup, I find is a good sweet spot for our system when it's filter style coffee in mind. Not that I do filter coffee and espresso coffee, roasting that is, but anyway, there we go. So from that roast, I was then able to deduce how I was going to approach the second batch, the third batch, and the fourth batch, and I wanted to push the roast on a little further, so I opted with 100% gas in the subsequent roasts, but following the same methodology. So an ever declining rate of rise curve, making sure that the gas is regulated as I'm going into first crack, mitigating any sort of crash events that happen around that first crack, and with that 1 minute to 1 minute 35 development time in mind. The overall color, light medium, because that's kind of where I sit. The expectation then is balance. So let's have a quick taste. Right, so the first thing with this coffee, and this is a filter batch, which I do for all of these tastings because it's quick and easy. I could do a cupping, and in subsequent videos I probably will, but anyway, today this is a filter batch. The first thing that you'll note is this green apple skin, and it sort of tickles the side of your palate, so there's a nice wave of acidity that you get. But it is really well balanced with a very quick to come in caramel character, and it's syrupy as well, especially when this coffee has been poured some minutes ago and brewed maybe 30 minutes ago, 40 minutes ago, so the temperature has waned some, and we're right into the zone of just delicious drinking, not having to wait for your coffee to cool, and one where your tongue can perceive all of the sort of texture that coffee can give. So green apple, and a fleshy green apple, along with that green apple skin quality, which is really quite lovely, into caramel, syrupy, and then this baker's chocolate richness on the finish. It's a very harmonious blend of this Red Catuai and Caturra, and the growers have done a fantastic job. It's great selection, a really fantastic example of regional coffees where farmers will pool some of their great lots in order to create something delicious. It's a fine example of washed coffee from Nicaragua. So, how would I brew this? Filter and cafetiere, absolutely. The acidity in this is controlled enough that I think this would do very well on espresso-based drinking too. The baker's chocolate will pair well with milk. The acidity will lift the cup profile so it's not all base. And the roast profile that I've approached or used for this should mean that you've got great solubility as well. So you shouldn't have any of those sour notes as long as you can hit good extraction yields. Anyway, in summary, Red Catuai Caturra blend from 5 producers in Nicaragua. It's a washed coffee, a coffee that has great balance that displays green apple, caramels and chocolates in the baker's chocolate spectrum, and it will be a very versatile coffee to brew. I hope you enjoy. See you again next time.